everyone. Welcome to LOA Uncorked. This is Holly.
And this is Gina.
Gina? Okay, do you hear something? Here, listen. Ba-boom, ba-boom.
Oh,
do you know what that
Lord.
is?
Yes. Your beating heart. Your oh so happy beating heart.
It's what we take for granted, Gina.
I know.
And today our guest is going to help us figure out more about the heart. Secrets.
He's going to add a little something in the background.
I'm going to tell you secrets. This our poor guest today, before we actually introduce him, our poor guest today does not realize this, but we're the same people.
Who, you and our guest?
You have to see her face.
I don't know.
Same people.
Okay,
And I'm
all right,
going
well,
to explain why we're the same people.
Okay. All right.
It's going to make so much sense. And with that, I'm going to reveal secrets from my heart.
Oh, great.
Okay. She's like,
great.
She's known me so long.
I can't wait to hear what our guest does with that storyline.
We've
and
worked together. You don't know
with that.
anything about this. Well, you know one, but you don't know the other.
Okay.
All right. So we are the same human.
Okay.
Because
Oh, God.
we both had our friends tell us, dude, don't ever sing again. Okay.
Oh.
That we share in common.
Okay. All right.
And that impacted me my whole life, Gina.
Yes.
But with our guest's help, all week, what have I been doing? Singing.
Yes,
Now, I've been singing alone, but I've been singing. Okay.
Yes, you have
Then
been.
the second thing why we're the same people, and quite frankly, I'm a little jealous of him, really. Well, for many reasons.
Are you jealous of yourself then too?
No.
If you're the same.
Well, no, because he branched out. This is where
I think there's. I think we're overselling the alignment, but keep going. Keep going.
I dreamed, wait for it, of the Sunburst Cherry Les Paul guitar. I wanted one so very bad. I would see Jimmy Page playing it, and I would envision, and I had a Gibson, whatever, I had the pre Les Paul old electric guitar thing. But this is where we diverge, because he got one. And now he's a famous person.
Yes.
Okay. And I did not. And I'm not a famous person,
famous
Gina.
musical person.
I know. And what happened was
way more.
I feel like he's going to give me therapy today. He has no idea that he's doing
I'm pretty sure he now knows you need it. So I mean, even if he's not qualified, he'll probably refer you to someone. I mean,
I gave up playing guitar and playing anything because I decided I had no musical talent, and I became an accountant, and that's where we diverged. So we were the same human, and then we split off in childhood. There you go. He's my twin.
one stayed the course, the other decided to just do the books for the famous
I'm still
people.
pretty good with numbers, though, so there you go.
See, there
I
you
believe
go.
you are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Music and math are very kind of...
They are intertwined. I feel
Absolutely.
like music, math, and the quantum field, they're all intertwined with math.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, listen. All
Will
right.
you just get to introducing our poor guest? He's going to break in anyway and just introduce himself.
I know. Okay, so today we are super excited. And what did I do to you, Gina? I bugged you every day. I mean, it was
tormented.
relentless. Okay.
Tormented. She's already made, playlists for me, but keep going. Yes.
Well,
keep going.
she's dog sitting and he has anxiety. And I was like, oh, Barry has a playlist for that. Okay. And so we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right. But okay, today, Zen. We have Barry Goldstein on our podcast today. His musical experience spans many styles and genres, from co-producing the Grammy Award-winning track of 69 Freedom Special with the ultimate wonderful person, Les Paul, for Best Rock Instrumental in 2005.
Amazing.
And he also provided ambient music for Shirley MacLaine. So
really?
he's gone that. I mean, this is a span of all kinds of
This
genres.
is the quantum field part of the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. In addition, he has composed and produced music for television, film, major record labels, and top recording artists. You can understand why I'm angry.
Yeah, I get it.
And Barry's music is being used in hospitals, hospice, cancer centers, and medical practices. We're going to talk about that. In addition, Barry has worked with the father of biohacking, Dave Asprey, and reached the Billboard Top 10 New Age albums with New York Times bestselling authors. We know them, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Daniel Amen. I mean, listen.
All the heavy hitters.
Yeah, Neil Donald Walsh, Anita Moorjani, you name it, he's done it. I'm telling you, I wept at Call of the Heart. Okay, his music is so amazing. He also has, and we're going to talk about this, like, why is he in cancer centers and things of that nature? He has a best-selling book, Gina. Yeah. It's The Secret Language of the Heart. That's why we were telling Secrets of the Heart, Gina. Do you understand that?
I understand it.
Okay.
No, I get it.
It's become the go-to manual for utilizing music beyond art and entertainment. I actually believe in that. It provides over 50 groundbreaking studies that assist the reader in using music to improve their health, their quality of life. I say their energy. I say their manifesting.
Feelings,
all of it. All of it. Welcome to the podcast, Barry Goldstein.
Barry Goldstein.
Well, thank you. I feel like I know you guys for like years.
Well, we were the same person.
You're the same person as Holly. I mean,
that probably is why. Yeah, there's a harmony.
Yes.
There's a harmony there.
You've been walking through the world with her right next to you, unbeknownst to you.
Wow. That's deep. I didn't even know it.
That's deep.
I wonder how many people though share that story about the Les Paul and the impact that he had on so many people that, you know, had the dream of, I mean, there's so many people, but my legend was always Jimmy Page at the time. But
yeah, and Les, you know, not a lot of people know this, but Les really didn't realize how many people like loved him and honored his contribution. And that was part of the album that I worked on with him, was a tribute to him for his 90th birthday. He literally reinvented himself because he was more known as a jazz musician. And the Grammy that we won together was for Best Rock Instrumental. So it's never too late to redefine yourself. And also, everyone on our wish list for the album ended up coming through and being on the album that he didn't think really was going to get made. You know, so it really started with that intention and the setting space of that. And, you know, that's the name of your show. It's the law of attraction on cork. So it's all about that. It's about creating the resonance and the frequency and holding the intention at the same time you're surrendering to it. So it's quite the dance, but when it's more fun when the universe orchestrates it and you can watch it and kind of be an observer of it than when you try to control that, you know, yourself.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay,
it's
listen.
so much stuff.
You just said something that I have never heard before, like holding the intention, setting the intention and holding it, but also at the same time surrendering to it. Is that what you said? Yeah,
and that's really, I mean, key. And for me, you know, if you talk about like the Gibson Les Paul, you know, and my story behind that, my dad, when he bought it for me, you know, you said you never got yours, but we couldn't afford ours. You know, literally, my dad thought he was gonna really get a beating from my 4'5" mom, you know, for coming home with this guitar and literally putting all his credit cards on the counter. But he made me in that moment when he got it for me. He said, I need you to promise that you're going to stick with music because this is a big commitment for us. So with that, you know, in that moment, I believe is where the intention was seeded, you know, and that seed throughout the 30 years it took to manifest. People talk about manifesting in the amount of time, but there was a surrender with it, but there was also an awareness, you know, of looking at that guitar, the name on the guitar, right, and saying, oh, wow, my dad actually believed in me enough to buy me that guitar. So Les Paul became synonymous with me, with quality and belief and that commitment that I had to music. And then, you know, I went about my career, you know, and kind of surrendered to it and just, you know, went through the stages that we all do in our careers. And literally about 30 years after my dad bought me the guitar, he bought it when I was 14. When I was 44 is when I got to work with Les Paul and tell him that same story on stage after we won the Grammy about how my dad bought me the guitar in front of an audience in New York City at the Iridium. So, you know, obviously the full circle and lots of things happened in between that and lots of channels that changed along my musical path because, as you know, I went in a slightly different direction. But I think it all kind of started from that initial promise that was made from that cherry sunburst guitar. Yeah, that's right behind it.
Well, listen, I think you get an A++++ and follow through on your commitment to your dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that stage 30 years later.
And you still have the guitar, don't you?
Yeah, it's right behind you.
I do see it. Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, that's a phenomenal, inspiring story to start off our podcast today, Barry. I think what we typically try and do at the beginning of our podcasts is just ask our guests to kind of share a little bit about themselves, kind of the milestones of your life that are important for our audience to know before we kind of dive into the conversation today. So if you could just give us the milestones.
The cool story of you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's a pivoting point on that one, in terms of the guitar. But there I think reaches a time when we start to manifest our desires and career. And one of mine was to become a record producer and just do music, for a living. And that turned into what a lot of times can happen, and I'm sure it happened to you or your listeners, when that dream comes true and it becomes literally a job and something that you didn't think that it was going to become, and you kind of lose your love for something and you lose your center and connection with it. And that's kind of what happened, because after I became a producer, a lot of timelines, a lot of commitments, and creating a 5-minute pop song took 100 hours of my week. Wow. And just kind of losing that spark, and in that process of saying, wow, how do I reconnect, to that 14-year-old kid who sat on the edge of his bed with this new electric guitar, who started writing songs, how do I want him back, So I did some research, and I decided to literally do the opposite of what I was doing. So I was composing music, very, very detail oriented. What would happen if I just let music come through me and take these hour-long journeys of decomposing instead of composing? And so the research that I found showed that our hearts at a relaxed state are between about 60 and 70 beats per minute. And I knew that I can set my metronome to a specific tempo. What would happen if I set my metronome to that tempo? Would my heart synchronize with the metronome as I compose the music? So that's where it really started for me. I was my own experiment to get out of anxiety and, insomnia. And I started taking these journeys and moving to like very, very meditative trance states, where I was hearing the music at the same time as it was coming through me. And I really didn't think that anyone was going to listen to it, to be honest to you, because it didn't have a catchy chorus, right?
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah. It wasn't, the chorus wasn't by the time 1 minute came in the song.
And that's what you mean by deconstructing. Like the music, instead of having it being constructed, you were deconstructing it and just going with the creative flow.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And when we talk about composing ourselves, right, when you hear that, well, I want to compose myself. What is it? It's structure. You want to kind of get yourself together. So I had too much composure. I needed to kind of take some of that structure away. So that I could reconnect with the original intention, was just to feel love and joy with it. So I began to compose these pieces, and it was very similar like to painting, because that first hour of just kind of creating the first pass, and then I'm like, okay, well, what else does it need? Where does it need other colors and other layers? Right. Yeah. And because it wasn't written down, I never knew what was really coming at me. So I was more of reacting to it intuitively than my thinking mind, trying to figure out, okay, what chord comes next. And it created a very unusual sound. Some people call it like the music of the spheres, or something like otherworldly. And I started to play them for a couple of friends of mine. Some were massage therapists. I had another friend who was doing a lot of dental work. And I said, here, try this to relax yourself in the dentist's office. I had another friend whose mom had dementia, and they lived up in Harlem in New York, and it was very noisy. Here, try this. Maybe it will mask out some of the background noise. And I just started getting these amazing testimonials from people of how they were using them for their mom with dementia. They were using them for chemotherapy. They were using them to birth children into the world. Wow. They were using them on the other end to help their loved ones transition and move out of fear. So I knew I was kind of like onto something. I didn't know what it was. And that led to more research for me of, okay, well, I know it's working, but why is it working? And that kind of led to me creating my book and really kind of getting the science behind, why music works and how it not only works in our emotional bodies, right? Because most people have experiences where they've had a profound experience emotionally with music. That's not really new to us.
Right.
The novelness is when it doesn't happen randomly, and we're steering and navigating that. But not a lot of people realize that music, can also affect our physiology as well, our physical bodies. So like what was going on with me when I was composing those, I later found out was called entrainment. Mm-hmm. When your internal rhythm, which is my heart, had the ability to synchronize with the external rhythm that was in the music. And that really became part of my new composition process of creating what I call designer music or acousticeuticals, where music can be used as medicine.
I love that. Okay, I have so many questions.
Okay.
But I'm going to let you start. Go for it.
Well, so when you are, that must have been a big leap to go from being a composer, which, has a, kind of a playbook, lack of better saying, to deconstructing. And then you learned how to, because I think I read this about you and you said something like this, that you put intention into your albums, into your music. How did you learn how to, how did this all unfold? You were a burnt out record producer and, how did that unfold? Did you have mentors? Did you meet somebody significant? And how did that unfold for you? How did your destiny, I'm going to call this your destiny, unfold for you? It's just fascinating.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Did you meditate before this kind of pause in your career and kind of reassessment what's working and what's not working? Because it sounds like you quickly kind of went there. So I'm curious on that too, actually, Holly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I surrendered so much to the process and because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and when you take away all that you know and you kind of trade it for everything that you don't know, right? That's where all the good stuff happens in your not knowing, Yeah. And that's where the surrender kind of comes in. But it's not a surrender where you feel like you're giving anything up or sacrificing. You feel like, wow, this feels a lot less stressful, not having to have all the answers to this. And I knew no one was watching me or making me do it. It was basically my own initiative. And that's really how I started to move to deep states of meditation, was learning how to do that in the creative process.
Okay.
And
so it was
once
a byproduct. It was a byproduct.
Yeah, it was a
music.
byproduct.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So once you have an experience, and that became really kind of my goal into introducing this into more mainstream audiences. If you can give someone, even if it's a 30-second experience, where they're saying, "Oh my God, maybe that's what they mean by meditation." Right? Oh my God, maybe that's what they mean by connecting to an unlimited field of all possibilities. Right? Whatever it is for you, it doesn't have to be like a really big window. Like people think, oh, well, I need to meditate for an hour and a half. You just have to have an experience that's anchored in it. And so for me, once I had that experience, and it was like, wow, was really unexpected because, I get into this in my book, but one of the things that I say to work with is ask yourself if something is a contracted experience or an expansive experience, right? And when your heart feels like wide open and, like you're on top of this mountain and you're just feeling, even when I do this, like I could feel the energy coming in right now, right? Because my arms and my heart are open to receive, then you know that you're having an expansive experience. But when you're pulling in tight and you feel like you need to protect yourself, like a cold day, wow, I don't have enough layers on, that's how cold I am, right? And you feel like you're protecting your heart, that's contracted. And we can do this with literally finding out if a piece of music's right for you, or finding out if a new business experience is right for you. It could be anything in your life. But what I'm talking about here is the experience that I had was so wide and expansive when I was in that process, that literally I felt like my heart was bursting open. It was an awakening that occurred. And so putting the intention in with that came really naturally to me in that state. And when I was in that state, it's kind of like dropping, a stone in these serene waters, right? That's the perfect time to drop it in, is when you're connected to that field. It's like the universe is listening at that point, because, you've created that space. So initially, the only intention I had for what later became my series, which is called ambiology, which was a word that I basically made up and that came to me when I was kind of asking what should I title these, was that the music served the highest capacity of healing for each individual that listened to it. And I felt that was broad enough to give people their own experiences with it, and not feel like, okay, well, this one has to be for sleep, or this one has to be for anxiety, or this one has to be for stress reduction or breathing. So what happened was people just started to give us testimonials of how they were using the music, and they did start to kind of to pair off, into, wow, a lot of people have said like Ambiology 6 Genesis is great for sleeping. And a lot of people have said Ambiology 5 is great for brain harmony and ADHD. And like when I started working with Dr. Joe, he's all about that brain harmony. And that was his favorite piece, Ambiology 5, which is called Eden. So they kind of found the path of their own. But I always had the belief system that everything goes into, music. It's like when you cook in the kitchen, like grandma's meatballs. Why do they taste so good? Because grandma's, has the same recipe that she hands down, but it never tastes the same.
Never does.
Because grandma is like seeing all her kids and her grandchildren. She sees them already eating at the table while she's making it, right? And she's like seeing them like enjoying the meatballs, right? And like nobody caring if they got sauce all over them, right?
Exactly.
I'm Jewish, right? So it really should be matzo balls, right?
Oh, yeah, okay, I love it. Yep.
You have the Italian down quite nicely.
Yes, you
yeah,
do.
yeah.
But I'm from New York, so
of course.
we got a good melting pot there.
Yeah, for
So, but anyway, so what would happen if that same recipe was kind of put into music, and putting that love in the music ahead of time, and seeing people in meditative states, seeing people in, listening to it during chemo and relaxing, seeing doctors, bringing it to their patients. And I believe everything gets embedded, into the music. And I tell this to up and coming artists as well, that when you're recording, make sure like the recording engineer is with you, like he's holding space for you when you're in your process, because that goes into the music. If he's having a fight with his girlfriend and texting, while you're doing like your sacred music, don't you think that somehow is going to get absorbed, and people will feel that on some level? They don't know what they feel, but they just know when it feels expansive or when it feels contracting. So, it's a recipe, and literally it can be used in anything, and it's about connecting beyond ourselves in any creative process. It's about bringing divinity in with you, whatever you like to call it. It's not a religious thing. It's really based upon calling in something larger than yourself, whether you call it nature, or you call it God, or you call it the creator. Look around you and see all that's been created. Don't you want that creator like in this room? I do. Come in. Help me out here, Wow. Give a brother a break here. So I can't do this on my own. All the best stuff happens in collaboration.
I
absolutely agree.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And I feel like, so if we're talking about coherence, and is coherence, like your music, is it always 60 to 70 beats? Is that part of the recipe? And then why is coherence so important for our health?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what kind of music I'm creating. So like for meditation and relaxation and sleep, that's a great sweet spot to start with. And sometimes I'll go a little bit slower than that if I'm really wanting to bring people down to like almost into more of a sleep state. Sometimes I'll bridge it and start at a certain tempo and then kind of wind it down. But the importance of coherence is that your heart is creating, when you're in training at that tempo, your heart's creating smooth and orderly rhythms, right? So if you think of like an orchestra, and just like we have different sections in an orchestra, we have different sections in our body. Our body's like an orchestra. So you have your digestive system and your lymphatic system. Think of those as like parts of an orchestra. And if everyone was playing whatever they wanted to play at whatever tempo, right, what would that sound like musically? Wouldn't that be incoherent and dissonant, right? So when you have a starting point and you have a starting tempo and it's sending out those smooth, orderly rhythms, the rest of your body is moving into synchronization with that as well. Right? And it also is moving your brains into more orderly patterns. And so at that specific tempo, it's great for targeting what's called the parasympathetic state. And the parasympathetic state is a state where we're resting and digesting and regenerating, our body's resting, and it's when our body gets really to do what it loves to do in a healing state. It's your body works best. It's the opposite of the sympathetic state when we're in stress and we're running from the bear. And sometimes that's needed, as well. We have to have some stress in our lives and some stressors, but it's all a matter of how long you stay there. So the coherence is really when the heart and the rest of your body are moving into synchrony together, and your brain is moving into synchrony, and that's when we're at optimal states, not just for our physical body to heal and recuperate and sleep and everything else, but it's more ideal for your creative states as well, because when you're moving to those smooth, orderly heart patterns, your heart coherence, you're also producing more alpha brainwaves. So this is where things are getting interesting now, because they're showing the correlation between heart coherence and brain coherence. Like they're an intelligence that are talking and communicating with each other. This secret language of the heart is being communicated to our brain as well. And when you're in that state, it's hard to be in high beta if you're in a relaxed state. You're going to naturally, your brain waves will slow down to alpha and theta, where your creative ideas come in, where probably most of the geniuses who have created everything on Earth have tapped into. Einstein, talked about, music, and that when he had creative blocks, he would listen to music, and he also played the violin. And that's when he would get a lot of his answers, when he was in those states where he was, he wasn't calling them coherence at the time, but we now know that these are coherent states when we're tapping in to that unlimited field and we're getting those answers. So that's the importance of coherence. But you can also target, it doesn't always have to be 60 to 70 beats per minute. It's really about asking yourself the question, where am I now? Where do I want to go? And what piece of music's going to take me there? And that's when it becomes fun, and you create your own programs and your own playlists, and you become the DJ of your own life. Because if you wake up in the morning and you have a high energy meeting, and you have all hands on with staff, you don't want to maybe listen to that relaxing piece of music,
Right.
So I created a gratitude playlist that like has Sly and the Family Stone, thank you for letting me be myself, Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World, Dido, thank you, and so those get me into an upstate, where I'm moving And, studies show that when we're dancing to music, that we're able to improve our cognitive skills, and we're able to produce dopamine, which is our reward neurotransmitter and hormone that, can help us in moving and navigating our energy in the day. So that's really, it's about navigating your energy so you have more time to do what you're here to do, whatever your gift is.
Yeah.
I love that. The other thing that even to tap into your own intuition, even your intuition of your heart, is to listen to music, move. They say, getting into that. I mean, what happens is it raises your frequency. What's so beautiful in your book, so you're everybody, they should go out and get his book.
Absolutely.
He has all kinds of great
So
suggestions and of playlists and different things. So to just be creative, there's a whole methodology that you laid out to be creative. And what's interesting for me is I left my corporate career, and we're starting our own thing. And like in the morning, it's been silent, I'll do my gratitude, I'll do my stuff. It's been silent. And I was like,
And she was like somebody that was in the office by like 5 a.m.
yeah,
the bulk of her career.
And I don't like being up that early. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it's
I should be
overrated.
illegal.
It's
Yeah.
completely overrated. But
yeah.
but nevertheless, like I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right to start with. And sometimes for me, because I don't have the high energy meetings, I just want to get up and be grateful and just like graciously get into the day, And so one of your songs is perfect for that. And so I started doing that, and you're absolutely right. It raises your frequency, and we're all about like raising our energy level.
Yeah.
And when you raise your energy, you're a light for other people. You said in the beginning, well, you don't think Les Paul knew how many people were impacted by his beautiful,
Right.
Inventions. And you probably don't know how many people are impacted, but you feel it, so your love, your recipe went into it, and then it goes around the world. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
and
you will feel that back energetically.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That's, go ahead.
I love that your music is a way for people who may be really struggling to feel comfortable in their own personal success, because we all put so much pressure on ourselves around meditation. Mm-hmm. So I love the concept of, it's almost like a guided meditation just with music, with versus an audio, somebody talking you through it, which really gives us all our own space to kind of be as intentful with that meditation, and to use it, like you said. You didn't try and put labels on your songs to infer certain things were going to affect people in a certain way or for a certain thing. And I love that, because then, some people may have kind of been drawn to one song for sleep and one song for heart, the reality is those songs may have worked for other people for other things. So I do really love that, because it gives that creative autonomy to people to really take it for what they need it to be, whether that's a meditation or anything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're showing more and more in research now that preferred music, so the music that you love, is the music that's going to be most impactful for you. And again, I think of it similarly to food, where someone can suggest to you, well, you need to try broccoli because it's great and at fighting cancer. But if you are allergic to broccoli and it's creating inflammation in your body, then it's not going to be the right food for you. And musical nourishment is really the same thing, So I think that we, even in the transformational community, we do have the tendencies to want panaceas for things, like what song is good for sleep, and what song which is great. And there are sometimes I'm creating pieces for specific things, but I think my point is that you really have to trust your own guidance with what is right for you. And that's where it kind of comes in checking in with your heart and saying, wow, when I listened to this piece of music that my friend suggested, and she said, by the way, that it is the healing frequency, right? So there's no pressure there, right, for you to listen to it. But when you listen to it, you almost feel like it's contracting for some reason, or you feel nauseous, or it's just not right for you, whatever the moment is, we shouldn't feel pressured that we have to listen to it, at that particular time, that we can try something else and, become the DJs of our own lives, but also checking in with what I call your inner symphony. So this is really important, because you were talking about too silence, and the ability to kind of have that time of peace as well. And that's just a great time to get to know your heart better, placing your hands on your heart is something we just really don't do that much anymore. We've taken it out of classrooms. We're not engaged in the ritual of, as soon as you place your hands on your heart, place your hands on your heart with me. Right. Sorry, you both have microphones there. So, wow. So as soon as you do that, you're basically creating a conversation, and you're saying this is something sacred. Because when you let somebody touch your heart, you really have to trust and acknowledge that, that you are giving your heart to them, right? So it's the same thing when you're touching your own hands on your own heart. And if you just close your eyes and just allow yourself to just feel your heart and listen to your breath going in and your breath going out. Go in and go out. And you just subtly feel that vibration of your heart, your heartbeat, and the sound of your breath is like inner orchestra kind of moving. Your breath creates the rhythm, and your heart carries your own unique vibration. So no matter what's going on in your life, whether you're having a challenging situation or you're starting your day, this is a great way to cleanse yourself and energy that you might have given away, because nobody has the exact same vibration as you do, or the exact same tonal quality of your breath. It's yours completely. And so you can always, this is a way to come back home regardless of what's going on in your life. You can be like, kind of like when you go away on vacation, it's great, but something about coming back into your own bed that feels like it's home. This is kind of the same way. And you come back and you begin to have this conversation with your heart, and you begin to ask your heart questions, and the cool thing is you begin to get answers. Does this feel right to me? No, it looks good on paper, but something about it, the timing doesn't feel right, or you just start getting answers as you would in a creative state, where they start coming in and in flow. But you have to start the conversation, of speaking to your heart in order to be able to listen to it as well. So I recommend doing that like at least once a day, like the beginning of your day, or your end of your day, or a situation where you feel like you might have given away some of your energy and you need to, like, where am I? I need to get back to me and utilize that. And the book discusses called the heart song breathing process. Mm-hmm. It goes into a much deeper process where you're connecting with the earth and the sky, and you're integrating in your heart as well. But a simple way of doing this just is the sacred heart breathing method of just hands on your heart, breathing in and out with conscious breathing and connecting back to you, because that's where your vision and your creative spark is. So every time you breathe in and out, it's like fanning the flames of your heart. Think of that,
Wow.
And you're there's a little spark there, and now it's just kind of starting that fire again. So if you're doing that every day, you're literally telling the universe, and you're telling the divine, I'm taking the driver's seat here, and hey, maybe you can help me out, but I'm going to start fanning the flames of my vision, of my passions. And of course, when you do that, you're never walking alone. So that's where we redefine music as something that is not just something that happens to you, it's something that happens in you.
Okay, and that's where the magic begins. So Gina and I did your sacred heartbeat process. So we love the fact that you get to do an audible, like when you pull. So there's the 3 breath method, and when you pull up, you do the audible. like that audible, like letting that out, which I think is important.
Huge. Yeah,
and, honestly, I was joking, but not really. Okay. My jokes are, I always believe my jokes.
Yes, I actually don't think you ever really joke with your jokes. Yeah.
Okay. But I said we take it for granted because I was like, okay, well, I knew it beats. I mean, I knew it's there.
I don't think I've.
No,
keep going,
and I've asked questions of it before, but I never really stopped to listen to the music and its own beat. I don't think I've taken my pulse or, and so that was like a real gift from you and your book and your work, because I was like, okay, I haven't done that. And the other thing and now I'm going to a question, Gina. Okay, so I'm getting there.
Okay.
So
it's usually a long wander in the woods.
Then I'll forget
and then
by
she'll
the
get
time
there.
we get there.
But just hang in there, Barry.
It's okay.
She'll get there. Yeah. You need to lay your head down for a little bit.
Oh my
You
God,
can
now
see I don't believe in short answers either. So you
I appreciate
are,
that.
after all, one person. So
I was going to say, and you
would you
make up
expect?
words just like she makes up words. So I was going to say at the
Embryology,
end,
yeah,
like,
I love
okay,
that.
you might be the same person because he makes up his own words
I know,
too.
I love that. Okay, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, so wait a minute now. Now I forgot my question. No, so this is my question. So you talked about getting in contact and doing it daily, and that it'll start answering. I do struggle. This is where the therapy comes in. Okay, I do struggle with getting the answer from my heart and not my head. And so can you give some advice about how long do you wait if it, I mean, like, obviously we shouldn't give up, but can you give some advice to me and give you some therapy on how to do that and really co-create with that?
Yeah, perfect question.
Yeah, well, if you think of it, when you're asking these questions, think of it as moving into flow state, right? So when I'm moving into creation, my goal is to get as many ideas out as I possibly can. When I'm writing a song, I'll literally lay down 20 or 30 different tracks, and knowing that this is the time to just let it come in, that I'll have my time to edit them and see, oh, well, you know what, I don't like this one, or I like this one, or this one doesn't work in the way I thought it was going to, right? But during that process, if I know that I'm not going to be doing that, and I set that kind of boundary, okay, well, this is just flow state. If you think it might be a thought that's coming in as opposed to your heart really answering, it doesn't really matter, because you're in flow state. It's all good. Just write it all down, right? And then decide after. See that, the next day, like when I come back to things, I'm coming back in a different headspace. I'm coming back and saying, so out of all these things that I wrote down, go back and circle the power words for you, right? The things in there that felt like, oh my God, I love that, right? Like certain things I'm saying, you're like, oh, I really love that.
Yeah.
Right, that are kind of resonating with you. So just circle those, the ones that are really jumping out on you, and they're resonating. So what resonating means is it's when a tone or a frequency amplifies another tone or a frequency. It's like when you hit a tuning fork in the same room as a piano and you're hitting E, it makes that piano string vibrate from across the room because the frequencies are the same, and it's actually even magnifying the frequency of what either one of them could have done on singularly. So it's really the same thing in that discernment, right? What's creating resonance with you when you read it and say, oh, that I feel in my heart. And who cares which ones don't, right? It's which ones do. And I'm sure, like if you're writing and you're giving your time, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to just let anything come through with this question, that you're going to have one or two things that resonate with you the next day that are kind of those vibrational activations that occurred from it. And then you just kind of run with that, So then you move into the next phase of that and say, okay, heart, what do I need to know about this word? Can you expand on that? And you do it again, right? You do another free flow process. And you keep doing that until you feel like you're birthing something that's fun and that's you. That feels like me. That doesn't feel like me,
Yeah.
And what feels expansive and what feels contracting with it. But I think, this is something new. I mean, it's not like they teach us this in school when
They should.
we're 5 years old. It is a different language. And so like any other language, it takes time to really get the language down, right? And to master the language. So a lot of us expect that we're just going to have that initial connection right away and we're always going to know. But of course, we're much more used to our brain's conversation than our heart's conversation. So we have to get accustomed to the more subtle ways our heart communicates. It might not be in words. It might be in a feeling, or you might not hear a sentence, but you might know what it's about and just start writing it down. Don't be tied to the process. Just let it happen.
I love the practice of kind of that flow writing, and then coming back the next day and which ones really, because I think that gets to Holly's question around how can I be certain what I'm getting is not just my head, but it's also my heart, and that kind of second look and really pulling out like what really hits. That's less about what the head is, which maybe it was from the heart to begin with, but it should show up again. I think that's a nice way to practice trusting that something's coming from your heart versus your head. Because I think I could always argue. I used to say I feel like my head floats around by itself. It's not attached to my body for a long time. And when I felt things, I felt them up here. I didn't feel them here. Done a lot of work on it. Your work is helping significantly, but it is a practice, and if you don't do it, and then once you feel it, then you can trust it, and it will, just like anything, grow.
Right, it's like program. In order for it to be powerful, you have to create a program, and a program means programming or deprogramming something else. But if you can take on the childlike essence, like what I was talking about when I was hitting my, kind of wall with my career, and I said, how do I reconnect with that 14-year-old kid and sitting on the edge of the bed? It's the same thing. So if you're going through your list of things that you got in flow state, and there's something there that's really cool, but you're probably like, oh, that was my head, but it was cool, who cares, right? If it's fun and you're like, wow, I really like that title, it's so easy to negate it and say, no, it wasn't from my heart. Well, what would happen? And just put it back in the pool, of things, and have another flow session and put that back in. And then you'll know, if the ideas are flowing with that, then great. If they're not, then maybe it's just something that is a title for a podcast or whatever it is. Yeah. There's no bad, I shouldn't say that. There are really no bad ideas, in terms of, because they all take you from one place to another.
Exactly.
Like even my worst songs, which all of my friends who know me like from the beginning, those are the ones they remind me of.
As
the
all good friends should. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the one country song I tried to write, that was pretty corny, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But as I said, it kind of takes you to your next steps, because you in order to become expertise in something, you do have to continue doing it and continue programming it. And that's where things like playlists come in, and things that will get you in the mood before you go in sometimes to flow state. Like there's a lot of things you can do to enhance your creative process with music as well.
And you outline that on your book. And the other thing that I heard you say is, like, don't judge it if it comes out. Just allow it to be and go through the process, which is beautiful. Yeah. And then it's our wish and our dream that we create new curriculum for schools, our young kids and students and schools, so they grow up with this language as well as the head, so that our wholeness is integrated at a very young level. So
Absolutely.
that is our desire that you touched on. Yep. One other question as we're kind of getting to the end of our session, which is
sadly,
I know. So with the pandemic, what I've seen, and I guess it's been documented too, so it's not just me, but there's so much more stress and anxiety, not only with adults, but now in teens and young people. What advice do you have for alleviating some of that? Or what could, if a listener is listening and their daughter has it or they have it, and anxiety, depression, whatever it is, what is your go-to? Would you recommend something for them? And they're going to their doctor, so nobody's a doctor here.
Yeah,
you have one at home, but we're not doctors here. So what advice would you give them to try to get some relief?
Yeah, so I would say start off with something that's going to be easily achievable, an easily achievable program. So what I normally recommend is 3 times a day, just like you incorporate your meals, incorporate music into your day. Just like you incorporate breakfast in to break the fast of your day and to give your body nourishment. Like start your day with a song that is going to take you from one place to another and tap into the emotion that you're in. I think that we've spent a lot of time numbing ourselves and numbing our children, and more things going on with prescription drugs, and sometimes they're absolutely needed, and I advocate that as well. When something is needed, you utilize it, but as well, it's nice to have tools that we can use in conjunction with, and music is just a great low-cost and non-invasive way to be able to manage stress, anxiety, sleeping challenges, and energy overall. So if you ask yourself, where am I, in your morning when you wake up, and say, okay, well, I do feel a little anxious today. So where do I want to go musically? I want to be in a more peaceful state. Do I want to be in a more joyful state? And start inventorying your music. And think about compartmentalizing it. Like I remember you saying that you've been doing a lot of different playlists, and I'm sure you see that requires like listening to a lot of your music and saying, oh, this would be good for that.
Yeah.
This would be good for this. This would be good for that. It's kind of like cleaning out the closet and, or calling an old friend up on the phone and saying, wow, I haven't talked to you for a long time, but it's like, yes, it's like we never stopped talking.
Yeah.
That's how music can be. Dig those songs out of the closet that made you feel a certain way, and just put awareness on how you want to start your day, the chalice of how your day is being held, the energy of it. And that's really can be life-changing, just starting your day with a piece of music. Like I listened to, the other day I was taking a walk and I was like, what do I want to listen to today? And I actually started my day off by listening to Frank Sinatra. I Got You Under My Skin, and it was so playful and fun, and the horn arrangements, and I was like, oh my God, it was so like joyous. And my dad used to listen to Sinatra, and it's just like it sent my day in a whole other direction, So for lunch, so this is something that I think has occurred more in the last 2 years, because a lot of us have gone through stages of isolation and being in a specific room or a specific environment and not moving around as much. We get caught up in our four walls. So at lunchtime, what's fun is to take a 5-minute musical vacation. So listen to a piece of music from another part of the world.
Oh, wow.
So like listen to reggae from Jamaica, or salsa music, or Oriental music, whatever it may be, and close your eyes and allow yourself to have a multi-sensory experience. What would the food taste like here? What are the people doing? Where am I? What does the air smell like? And literally, you can transport yourself and totally create a new environment in that 5 minutes. And then when you come back, you're like refreshed, and you've shifted your mood.
Great idea.
And then at night, I think of nighttime as dessert. So it's kind of like after dinner, you want something sweet,
Yeah.
At least I do.
I
so,
do. See, we're the same person.
I know you are. I'm seeing that now.
I know.
There
I
you
told
go.
you.
See?
Barry. I mean, I don't encourage her, Barry.
I can't help it. Sorry. Because it's encouraging me when I'm doing it.
Exactly.
I'm getting this. I'm understanding.
Exactly.
So at night, though, so something sweet and nurturing, to wind down from your busy day. And most of us don't do that. Like we go from social media and high energy and feeding the kids and whatever it is, and we get to sleep, or we get to sleep, but we wake up, because we literally jolted our body from one brainwave state to the other. We went from beta to delta and didn't bridge it at all. You know, so this way is to wind down and to kind of think of it, you know, as just slowing down. So light a candle, create an environment in your house. And if you have kids, this is great to do also. You know, play on some soothing music and review your day together. Like, okay, well, what happened that was great today? You know, and what were your challenges that happened today? And you allow yourself to feel your challenges and your triumphs, because it's really like resetting, you know, not just your body, but I call it your four bodies, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body. You don't want to wake up the same way that you went to sleep, you know? So if you can use music as kind of like a salve to kind of like loosen things up, you know, and you will notice that when you're playing that soft music, a lot of ambiology series, or you mentioned, I think, Call to the Heart, like those really just beautiful pieces, they kind of open you up, and it kind of is conducive to creating a deeper connection and either with yourself or with a loved one, and showing gratitude. So if you can just incorporate music 3 times a day, and you'll find that it's going to nourish you like in ways that you never thought of. And it will help you sleep better. It will help you manage your anxiety because you'll be more present. It will help you move through stresses in your day. But if you feel like that's too much, then start off with one song. And I say start off with what I call your happy song. And it's the song that when you listen to it, you know, no matter what mood you're in, it usually kind of brings you out of it. And so for me, like my happy song is "Could It Be I'm Falling in Love" by the Spinners.
Oh, I love it.
Or "The Love You Saved" by the Jackson 5. You know, so even thinking about it, like you're probably thinking about your song, like tell me your happy songs, like, or one of your happy songs.
I mean,
I'm putting you on the spot.
No, Pharrell Williams, happy. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of too when you said it.
I'm not supposed to sing.
Yeah.
Right. I love that because that makes you all of a sudden think of it. Wasn't that the Minions too? Like that little Minion movie, like happy.
Oh, yeah.
It was on the Minions, so like it's all anchored in like these little happy things running around, which is fun.
I kind of like. So I think the one that pops into my head is "Isn't She Lovely." Just that beat of it is just this lightness and
I love that.
Loveliness and it's playful. I feel like that song is super playful. I just love that song.
Feels like devotion to me.
See, so look what happens though, right? When I ask.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
And I did this at a retreat in Tuscany, and it was kind of like, you know, people have Tupperware parties at home, and you know, or different parties where they're getting people together. They should really have a happy song party. Because what happens is, as soon as you start talking about your happy song, like your energy starts to shift right away, even just thinking about it. And the research shows us that our brain actually starts producing dopamine when we think of our happy songs. So it has a powerful effect.
You don't even have to hear it.
Yeah, you don't even
just
have to hear it. Just thinking about it. And people just love to express their songs. And then what happens is, so you have 30 people in a room, and everybody tells you their happy song. You have now 30 new songs that are going to help you move out of those states of anxiety or states, you know, of depression, you know, that these songs literally become like lifeline, like someone throwing you a rope and saying, here, well, try this one, you know, and takes you out a little bit every day. So those are really the basics, you know, that I think anyone can incorporate. Like anyone can find one song that shifts their energy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, you know, I thinking about, you know, your example of the party and the 30 people and, you know, what's your happy song, sharing that. And it would be interesting if, you know, if to do that with your friends and family and just notice the vibration of the room and energy level of the room before you start and where it ends. Collectively, right?
I'm testing it out tonight.
I think we should test it out.
Well, I'm going to
I think you guys should.
Everybody's going to do it.
Yeah, I want to come. It could be a Zoom party.
It's
but
it's
also
out of
like
pool if you can come.
add another
Not in
layer
Tuscany
onto it,
though,
too.
which that sounds good. Yeah.
it was fun in Tuscany.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you're gonna hold another one of those retreats.
But we're willing to.
Yeah,
come.
awesome.
If
I'll
you
let
need
you
keynote
guys.
speakers, we'll learn to do
I'll
that.
let you know.
Whatever you
And
need.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll be making grandma's meatballs there too.
There we go.
Perfect.
But I was gonna say, if you could take it to even one more layer, if in that party is asking people, so what? Why did that song make you
Sure.
happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, I literally am in the Bronx where I grew up. I was in the bowling alley. I was probably like 8 years old when that song came on. The song that what song? Could It Be I'm Falling in Love?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was just around all my friends. We were having the greatest time. We were in a bowling league. We all stunk. None of us could really bowl, but we were just there to get out of our houses. And I remember the feeling of that. You know, even when I hear the song to this day, like in 3 notes, I can feel the energy of that happiness. So that happens exponentially in a room where you start asking people like, what, okay, so what about Isn't She Lovely makes you feel happy?
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just this reflective. Isn't she lovely? Like, it's the most reflective opportunity, and the way he does it is, and just the way
Reminds
he
me of your
sings
father.
it reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
reminds
that's
me of my
awesome.
childhood. You know, it's just like
Which is
when,
beautiful.
when you look and you know all you can think is, just, isn't that just the most incredible human being on the planet, right?
Awesome.
And sharing that with people, and it's such a beautiful song.
I love that you said that though, because I'm like, okay, that Go West song, what was it? I'll be able to know as soon as I'm not on the spot. But I'm like, okay, I was anchored in Hawaii with all my friends. It was our first, you know, like, so music anchors you
Well,
into happy
Yes, exactly. I was just gonna say, sounds, smells, and music can, I feel like within a matter of seconds, bring you right back to somewhere in your
Those meatballs.
past. Those meatballs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you where it becomes even more powerful. And I know we're running out of time, but I do want to circle back to this
Yeah.
because I think it's really
do it.
important too. Because where this really becomes important are when things like dementia and Alzheimer's kick in. So if you can identify that song now, you know, and you know what that song is, you know, down the line, God forbid that you or anyone you know ever gets Alzheimer's or dementia, but they're finding that people's preferred music when they were younger are becoming lifelines to Alzheimer's patients in terms of creating neuroplasticity and reconnecting them to memories. So that one happy song could literally be a song that can bring you into more presence with your loved ones, or give you a little bit of extra time. And if you look up, you might have already seen this video, look up Henry and Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And on YouTube, and all your beautiful listeners, when they're go to YouTube and check that out, and you'll see literally a man transformed from a catatonic state to a state where he is completely interacting and even singing.
Oh wow!
When they brought the awareness into creating playlists of songs that he loved.
I love that.
in his life. So
Well, we'll definitely put that in the show notes for people.
absolutely.
But I think you know, I had watched there was a special on, I think 60 Minutes had it with Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, and you know,
I
he
saw
is-
that.
Did
Yeah.
you see that? And
I did.
how he really struggled in the everyday, but when the song was being played, the minute the music started, it came right back, and he
It's
was
so
right
beautiful.
back to his, even the way he held himself
yeah,
was true Tony Bennett, whereas without the music, he kind of, you could tell the disease was taking its toll on how he was showing up without that music. It was just fascinating to watch.
Yeah. What I loved about that was that his piano player, who has played with him for years and years, said not only did he remember the songs, this is the coolest part, he was improvising in new ways that he had never heard before.
Oh,
So
wow.
it wasn't just memorization; it was improvisation.
He was back to himself. So to your
Yeah.
point, it can bring you back in your. That is incredible. I forgot.
Yeah.
I don't think I
Yeah.
remember that part of that
Well, that's
interview.
a really important part.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that can be used for, and we do have a friend who's going through this with her mother, and she's agitated a lot, so it can even if it doesn't bring you back, it can reduce the agitation. I think is what you have.
Yeah, and some of that more relaxing music will
Yes.
has shown to be beneficial as well with agitated behaviors in Alzheimer's patients that we've used quite effectively, like for sleeping challenges and blocking out external noise and moving out of those behaviors. So,
Wow.
Well, Barry, you have inspired the Elway Uncorked Spotify playlist.
Oh, yeah. We're doing it.
Of everybody's favorite songs. We're going on a road trip and interviewing cool people like you, Barry. Not as cool, but don't tell them, okay? And
no, they don't have cool guitars, and
Yeah, I
they
know.
aren't as like. I mean, just
they're not my twin. I mean, he's the only twin I have so far. Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
Lucky Barry.
Lucky you.
I do feel lucky.
But I
No,
tell
it's
you,
true.
I mean, the way you bring joy in the world, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, we're going to have so much joy creating our playlist. And that's a real truth. That is not a false. We'll share it with the
yeah.
audience as well. But we are en route to do that. And it's going to be so much fun to do it. And we're going to have our intention about, just like you, Barry, I'm going to do it just like you.
Yep.
I'm going to put my intention and love in there. And
Let your heart lead.
amen, sister. My soul sister.
Awesome.
Well, listen, I also, and I was thinking about how to say this more politely, but I'm not going to. It just makes me teary-eyed. I'm so glad that you hit the pause button, took the time out when you were not inspired with what you could have gone on and been very successful doing in that pop world and doing whatever you were doing, the path you were on, and really, brought this. I mean, you brought something brand new to the world in such a heartfelt and amazing way that it was just a powerful conversation today. And
thank you.
I'm glad you hit the wall a little bit, and I just think it's a great example for us all who hit a wall that you can pivot and really
Listen to your heart.
listen to your heart.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to pivot back too and kind of bring all this stuff back into pop music and into.
Please,
And
yes.
so, again, you never know where your next chapter is taking you.
Love that.
So,
Well, like we said, whether it's school systems or pop music, what mainstream, bringing this practice into the mainstream is where the humans need to get to.
absolutely. And thank you for what you guys are doing and bringing awareness to the world, and your energy together, and it's just wonderful. And there's a lot of people doing podcasts now, and it's nice to feel the authenticity and the love of what you guys are doing and the way you I won't even say work together, play together. You can tell
Yeah,
that it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
it is
beautiful.
play. It's the best play ever. Yeah, thank
so much,
you.
so fun. Wonderful.
Wow, what an incredible conversation.
Yay.
Thank you, Barry, for your time.
To get his book, Secret Language of the
Absolutely.
Heart. Okay, there's really cool practice in there that we have not talked about. Playlists, lots of ideas if you want to branch out your music.
You can just email Holly. She'll tell you exactly what she's doing out of Barry's. I hear about it every day. She's implementing a lot of your work, so it's
true.
great.
And we'll put in the show notes, BarryGoldsteinMusic.com. And then is there anywhere else that you'd like them to find? I mean, he's everywhere, so you can find him on whatever platform you have. What else, Barry? What am I missing?
YouTube, and definitely has a lot of tools on it, and Spotify is a great way to tap into my music and also get some playlists going. And I also have suggested playlists on Spotify for morning, evening, and afternoon. So you have like a head start if you feel like challenged by or overwhelmed by creating your own playlist initially. You can just go to my Spotify, and that will kind of like start you out.
I love it. It broadens your horizons. I love that. I'm into that. So it's wonderful.
Exposes you to new music you might not have heard too, which is fantastic.
Okay, well, I can't believe it's over, Gina.
I know, I'm sad.
But we're going into the weekend, and I have you on my wind, okay, because we are creating pool party playlists and favorite songs and sharing tonight.
Yeah.
Cool. I want pictures.
Okay. I'll post them
Maybe it
on
should be
Instagram.
maybe it should be pajamas and playlists together.
Pajamas and playlists.
I
That's a
love
good
that.
idea.
I love that.
Like a sleepover.
Okay, well,
There you go.
We'll see. We'll see what transpires, but
For sure.
thank you so much. We really
You're welcome.
appreciate
You guys are
Thank
awesome.
Thank
I love
you.
being with you, and
Likewise.
have a great day.
If you ever need backup singers, we're available.
I got it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.